Day 27. 3 sessions after this one, and then the revision. Hello, and welcome back to Spatial Psy. I'm Dr. Rivka Edery, and I'm so excited to be back together with you for day 27. We're going to talk about what happens on day 31. So, right now, your tests are running. Your sweep is running. Your windows are closed or voided. The bookkeeping is done, and there's nothing further I need to teach you about the method itself. So today, I'm going to talk about the thing this course has never mentioned, and that the Spatial Psy workbook does not contain a single page about. Day 31. The practicum ends on day 30. The book closes. And then there is a Tuesday, and nobody is telling you to sit down, and there's no page waiting with your name on it. Nothing in these 30 days prepares you for that. And it is the moment that decides whether any of this survives. Because here's what happens to almost everybody. They finish. They feel a real sense of completion, earned, deserved. They put the notebook on a shelf. And then they sit down again in 8 days or 19 days, and it does not feel the same, and they cannot say why. And then they do not sit down again at all, not because they lost faith, not because it failed, because a practice with no structure does not decay dramatically. It just stops being a thing you do on Tuesdays. I've watched this happen. I want to spend today making it less likely, and I'm going to do it by telling you something about where this method actually came from. Let me name the trap precisely, what it feels like. You completed a 30-day practicum. That is a real achievement, and I do not want to diminish it. Most people who buy a book like Spatial Psy do not finish it. You will have done 30 consecutive sessions, honestly logged, including on the boring nights and the doubting nights and the nights something you cared about died. The sense of an ending is genuine, and you've earned it. What it actually is, the end of the calibration. Not the end of the practice, the end of the calibration. Look at what you've actually spent 30 days doing. You learn to see distance. You learn to hear a cluster. You learn to go and get an absence. You learn to freeze a map, to test a claim, to kill your own finding, to catch yourself steering. You built an instrument. And then, apart from a handful of questions in the last week, you've never used it for anything. That is not a criticism of the design. It is the design. You cannot point an instrument that has not been calibrated, and calibration takes as long as it takes, and 30 days is honestly rather quick. But it means that on day 31, you are not a person finishing something. You are a person standing at the beginning, holding a tool they spent a month building with no further instructions. And the feeling of completion, the very thing you earned, is what will quietly persuade you that the work is over. I want to tell you where this method actually came from, because I think you have the wrong picture of it. And the wrong picture is going to hurt you on day 31. From the Spatial Psy book, for 2 years, on Thursday nights, I sat at a table in a mediumship circle, and I looked for her. 2 years. Every Thursday. That is roughly 100 Thursdays. And I want you to be clear about what most of them were like, because the book, Spatial Psy, does not dress this up. Most of them produced nothing at all. 100 nights of sitting down. 100 nights of looking. Most of them uneventful, unremarkable, and by any standard you would apply from the outside, a waste of an evening. This method did not come from 30 days. It came out of years of showing up on a night of the week, on minimum, because I've actually done a lot more than just the Thursday nights, repeatedly, without much to show for it, and continuing anyway. And I did not know I was building a method. There was no method. I was looking for my sister, my baby sister Malki. Now, why am I telling you this 3 days before you finish? Because you're about to complete something that took me years to arrive at in 30 days, with all of the structure handed to you in advance. That is an extraordinary compression, and it is what a good curriculum is for. But compression has a cost. You have the skill without the years, which means you have the skill without the habit. And the habit is the thing that actually keeps a practice alive. 30 days gave you an instrument. It did not give you a Thursday. Now let me show you something in my own book that I could have quietly left out and did not. A few months into the circle, alone, I picked up a number game deck. No symbols, no imagery, no tradition to lean on. And I thought, I wonder if I can do what Tony did. And then this, exactly as it appears in the book. I asked a question about someone or something. I no longer remember the specifics. I began to shuffle. Read that clause again. I no longer remember the specifics. That is the founding session. The one that produced everything you have been studying for 27 days. And it has a hole in it. I did not write the question down, so I cannot tell you what it was. And that means, by the standard of my own method, the standard I have held you to since day 3, the session cannot be scored. Not now, not ever. It is gone. I'm not embarrassed by that, and I've not hidden it, and I want to be precise about why. It is the single strongest argument I can make for the pen. Because look at what I lost. Not a boring Tuesday. The most significant session of my life. The one that opened all of this. And I cannot reconstruct it. And no amount of skill or sincerity or good memory has ever been able to give it back to me. The pen is part of the instrument. I learned that by not having one. And here is the thing I want you to actually sit with, because it should change how you feel about that notebook in front of you. Your log is already more complete than the session that started all of this. Not because you're more gifted, because you wrote it down. So here is the reframe, and it is the whole of today. 30 days gave you an instrument. It did not give you a Thursday. A practice does not survive on skill. It never has in any discipline. It survives on a night of the week and a table and a person who sits down whether or not anything is happening. You, my friend, have the skill. You do not yet have the night. And this is why day 31 is genuinely dangerous, and why I will keep it up is not a plan. Because for 30 days, the structure has been doing the work of the habit. There was a page with a number on it. There was a video waiting. There was a sequence, and you were inside it, and the sequence carried you. On day 31, all of that vanishes at once. And what is left is you and a deck, and no reason in particular to do it tonight rather than tomorrow. My friends, that is not a motivation problem. Motivation is not the thing that failed for the people who stopped. What failed was that nothing was scheduled. And an unscheduled practice is not a practice, it is an intention. You learned this on day 18 in a different form. The machine does not run on excitement. It runs on Tuesdays. Well, you have 3 days to decide which day of the week is yours.